Welcome to thestockminute.com. I'm your stock miner Brian Johnson, and a move down today, kind of a slow trickle to the downside. Right at the very end of the day, we had a bump up, could be some short covering, and then kind of back to the lows again by the time we closed. Now, overall, we did move down in the markets, Dow Jones being I should say the stronger of the three today. I think it's more of the lagger. It just hasn't caught up to the drops that the other indices have had. Nasdaq, though, kind of in between. With the S&P showing the most weakness, I think that has to do, in my estimation, with the banks. I think the financials are really starting to kind of put a drag on it, which is it's not a good or a bad thing in any way, shape, or form. But what we're seeing in the financials here is they have had a monster run up. FAS, more to the point, has been very, very indicative of that. A very strong run up in the financials. It's just time for a pullback, and that's what they're doing right now. So far, though, the pullback's been just muted. I'd call it a pullback. No excitement there. The bears certainly have not taken off with this thing and started to run it one direction or another. And you can even see over the last couple of days, once we get into the charts here, that once again, here we are in what we're waiting for to be a pullback, a big pullback. Some people are calling it should be a more major pullback. We're just not seeing the acceleration yet. So we had our levels, we had our trades, and really get filled if you're an indice player and you like to follow the Dow. We didn't really have anything. We came right back to this 11,450 area, and that's where we held for the day. We came down, touched it. We had that big run up at the end of the day, only to run right back down by the end of the day. So you can see the bears are trying to at least make some sort of progress. I mean, they did manage to close it down 19 points today. Woo! Way to go, bears. But you can see we haven't even broken these levels yet. Now, quite honestly, wouldn't be surprised at all if we actually break this tomorrow. The S&P, the Nasdaq have all come back to retest or getting close to retesting these areas, and we're really close to this. We'll see if anything tomorrow morning makes a big difference, but in my estimation at this point, I could totally see us breaking this 11,450 area. If you want a day trade, this would be the place to start looking for it. Right back below this 11,450 area in the morning. If we get a gap down for some reason, you'll want to make sure that we get underneath this and watch that 11,400 mark. So those are your two areas to be watching tomorrow for your entries. From a daily, you can see what we've done is we've moved up, and then here was that little, if you want to call it a pullback, it is kind of a pullback / high base. Then we moved up again, and now look what we're starting. A pullback? We don't know. I mean, this thing could wander sideways like we saw over here. Maybe it moves down and puts a wick on a candle by the end of the day to the upside. And so we see it move down and then move right back up by the end of the day and put in a high base. This area, 11,450, is a big area for the bears to take and the bulls to hold. We'll see which way this market wants to go. I obviously want to be more neutral to bullish because A, the charts are telling me that, and B, we're coming into Christmas. Once this volume starts to dry up, I'm having a hard time believing that we're going to tank into the end of the year. Could happen, and once we start breaking like 11,300, okay, yeah, maybe that'll happen. We did see that back in I think it was '08 when the major drop happened, so it wouldn't be out of the norm to see that happen. I just gotta go with what the paradigm has been over the past umpteen decades, and that is we typically run up into Christmas, and then it comes around January, February when we start to see some of the larger falls. So I gotta go with what I know, and that is the charts are typically more bullish into this type of year. Watch tomorrow, maybe you get a little bit more of a dive. Anything back above 11.5 is your long. Anything back below 11.450 for more aggressive shorts, or 11.400 for another shorting opportunity. But you want to make sure it sticks. I have not seen heavy volume or strong movement coming from either side yet. So they're still duking it out with one another. And as long as it hangs up here, it is bullish. Here's your Nasdaq. Count this 1,000 ways. This could have been an A, B, C with now a jump to the upside happening tomorrow within the Nasdaq. We could see a further drop to the downside, and if we do, watch that 2190 area. That's my target for this for the Nasdaq to the short side. Same thing up here, looking for a drop below 2200 back to 1990. Watch that very, very closely. If it'll break if it'll break 2190, then maybe we see a 2170 test. That would be the 20-day. And that would be here on the, where are we at on the daily? And then on the weekly, we got a couple days left. Just not going to pass judgment. This thing could turn around at any moment. Look, so far, not a lot of volume coming in. They're just, the participation isn't there yet, which tells me the bears aren't maybe real serious about dropping this thing quite yet. And because we're so close to our highs of 22.25, we've only moved 25 points on the NASDAQ in 2 or 3 days. Gotta go with my neutral to bullish outlook. I mean, we have kind of got up and over these highs. It can turn at any time. I just have not seen the bears get serious in any way, shape, or form about dropping this market to any place whatsoever. SPX 60 minutes, same thing, holding on to the 1235-ish area, which is precisely what I told you guys to watch. Look how it came right back to test this line, and that's exactly where it stopped. Back to the upside, back to the downside. Close the day below the 50-day, 50 period moving average here, just ever so slightly. Any gaps down tomorrow, it's this 1225 to 1230-ish area, 1228-ish area, somewhere around in there. That'll be your next level of support. Watch that very closely. Could also end, if this is a wave 3 down, that would be a very, very logical place to see this thing stop, this particular wave. Then we get a bounce to the upside, and then maybe one more push to the downside. That's coming in the next week. However, watch the moves tomorrow morning and see if we don't get back to this 1230, 1229-ish area. Daily, same type of a thing. We did have that drop today. Looking a little bit stronger than what we saw yesterday. I'm really watching this level up here. So we're still same levels, just a different chart. I really like that 1229-ish level. That's right back to this area right here. So 1225 to 1230 coming into tomorrow for your lower support area. Weekly, it's a little bit of a red candle. Haven't moved that far all week. About 11 points, 10 points or so all week long. Not that big of a move, and can easily be taken back by the bulls if they decide to get serious into the end of the week. Wednesdays, Thursdays, typical days for reversals. Tomorrow, once again, watch these areas here, that 1229-ish level. We get back below about 1225, then we watch the 1220. VIX daily, okay, is up. You can see it isn't anywhere really. There's just no panic in the market right now. I'm having a hard time thinking that the VIX is really going to take off by the end of the week, or that it's going to spike hard to the upside. I think we see it maybe end up right up in or around maybe the 19 area by the end of this week, and then then I see it kind of dropping off again into the end of the year. Maybe even holding below this blue line and then dropping off into the end of the year. Either way, I see the VIX staying in or around this area here for a few more weeks. Once the volatility decides to pick up, I really think that would come more towards the end of this month, last week of the month into January before we see that. Apple 60 minutes holding up very nicely up here. Watching that 318 level, but we didn't even break the 319 area today. 319.19 was the low, high of 323. So still opportunities for a little bit of intraday trading, but Apple overall just moving sideways. Look at all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 candles in a row now where we haven't really gone anywhere. Been opportunities for day traders, not much for swing traders. Apple Weekly, same thing, just holding on up here. The high is still 321.30, so we're still watching for some potential maybe higher highs to be put in, and closes, more importantly closes up in this area. I mean, Apple's getting up there. It's making 324, 325. It just cannot hold it right now. But the market isn't helping it out. I really think when it decides to turn around, when the market does and the NASDAQ does, Apple will be one of the forerunners, and you want to make sure you're on the front edge of that. I'd be watching this one closely. If it can get back above that 322, 323 area, certainly worth a little bit of a long position. Even though it is as stretched as it is, you may be able to play that for another week or two into Christmas. Nice, easy pullback here. Here's the banks. You can see it dropping off, but look where we came from. November 29th. Straight up. So this pullback that we're seeing here, nothing. It's just coming back to hit this level of support, but overall it's nothing in the bigger scheme of things. It's very uniform, it's very controlled. The bulls are totally in control up here. The bears are like, whatever. I don't see a lot of angst coming in from the bull side, and I don't see a lot of confidence coming in from the bear side. So it breaks below the 200. Okay, maybe you're back in business for a short. Otherwise, yeah, just intraday play these for the time being and let them give you a direction. And if it'll get below this, then maybe you can see this 24 area, which is another dollar. That's not a bad move. Very conservative place to take your play. But otherwise, I'm not interested in this. We're just kind of in the middle of nowhere right now, and so I don't really have a lot of options with this. This pullback's been very, very, very uniform as well. Here you have a nice push right back into that 1050 area, which was, I gave you some breaks up above this 50 back to maybe the 1050 area, so we get above the 50 period moving average here. You played it up. Maybe you made a little bit of money on this thing today, but that was about all we got. Now I'm looking at 1050. If it'll break 1050, okay, maybe we can see a little bit of a run. This is looking pretty uniform right now. 1050 should be strong resistance. The best way to beat it is to what? Gap over it. So look for gaps, see if anything comes out major tomorrow that would turn these markets around from the financial standpoint. Once they start to turn around, then I think we see the rest of the markets turn as well. You can see us right back to this line I've drawn here. This is perfect, perfect TA right here. Break it, test it, hold it. Don't know. We don't know. We don't have confirmation on that yet. But look for tomorrow for this thing up and over 1050, and more importantly, closes over 1050. If for some reason something happens and one of the banks goes belly up or whatever, the banks decided to run 1135. 11 to 1135 is a very, very I would say pretty conservative target for the upside. If we can get up and over this 1050, 11 to 1135 is where I'd be looking at for targets. But otherwise, this pullback is perfect. So we'll see if the banks decide to recover tomorrow. Maybe they'll wait an extra day. Anybody's guess. Still options expiration week. The volatility has been kind of muted, but the moves have been pretty decent, actually. So opportunities to play intraday moves, and still waiting for better plays coming into Christmas on longer swing trade moves. That'll do it for today's video. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.